I am a little girl. People say that I am small, even for my age. Sometimes when I walk in the park nearby my house, well-meaning strangers will ask me if I am not afraid to be alone. I always answer no, and it is the truth. Maybe it isn't the complete truth because I am sometimes afraid at night. That is, unless I have company. I live by myself and the house does get very scary without company. I like company very much.
Hello, little girl.
How do you do, sir?
Dear me, you are a polite little girl.
Thank you, sir.
How old are you, my dear?
How old do I look, sir?
Ha ha. Bears my contention that a woman's a coquette, no matter what her age. To please you, child, I'll say you are about 12 and very pretty.
I made believe that I saw a friend of mine and went away. It's always about this time that they start talking about my parents. That makes me very uneasy because I have no parents, and I just know that if I told that to a grown-up, there would be trouble. There would be more questions, and if they ever found out that I live alone, well, I just know they would take me away from my house. I would not like that. It does scare me when I am alone, but sometimes I have company, and that is nice. I remember Tommy. He was very nice. I'll tell you about him. It was about a month ago. I think it was a month. Time is funny. It's not always easy to remember. I was walking along one of my favorite paths in the park. On a sunny day, you can always find children there. It is fun to play with them. I forget so many things when I play with them, but even at my happiness. It's always saddening to know that I will see some of them for so very short a time. Even so, I must not depress myself. I promise to tell about Tommy, and I will. A ball came rolling down the walk. Here's your ball, little boy.
Huh, I'm not so little.
I'm sorry, I guess you're a pretty big boy.
Sure I am. I'm strong, too.
You must be. You threw that ball very far.
I bet that girls can't throw like that.
No, we can't. We learn different things.
What kind of things?
This had been a very hard question to answer. There are many things you can tell little boys. There are so many things that one cannot. I have known many of them, very many, and yet each one thinks a little bit differently. That is where the danger lies. One cannot give the wrong answer because then they never trust you again, and yet one must have company. It is all quite tiring and confusing. I was wondering just how to answer Tommy when his governess ran up. He seemed most worried. She seemed most worried, and then she saw us together. She smiled, I suppose in relief, and then grew quite angry.
Tommy, you are a bad boy.
Why?
'Cause you ran away and I didn't see you.
Always chasing my ball.
Don't you know that there are bad people who steal little boys?
But I was only...
That's enough, Tommy. On top of making me worry myself, you will give silly excuses. Little boys should always tell the truth.
I am not little. I'm 7 years old, man.
And you are being very nasty to me. You are making me very unhappy.
You must agree that grown-ups are peculiar. Tommy's governess was worried about him. She said so, but when she found him, she became angry. This has always been a grown-up sort of reaction that has been very hard to understand. For a long time. See what I mean?
Who's this little girl?
She gave me back my ball.
That was very kind of you, my dear.
Thank you. I like to do nice things for other people, like Tommy.
Oh, you know his name?
Not till now. You just mentioned it.
What is your name?
It was a simple enough question, and yet sometimes the simplest questions are the hardest to answer. Haven't you found it so? Things that are hard you can somehow fight through, but unless something warns you is a simple word that causes the most worry. Makes you press your hands against your ears and pretend that you never heard the question. Bless little Tommy. He spoke up bravely as he could.
She's my friend.
Of course she is, Tommy. Let's all go back together and have her meet the rest of the children.
I was a bit worried. They were bound to be grown-ups as well as children, and grown-ups always get around to asking one's age. And though I have been answering that question for a long, long time, I am always thinking that someday I will be called a liar, and that everyone will start to investigate. The truth? Oh no, I could never tell that. There were little babies in carriages, and that always worried me. Babies are always frightened when they see me, even those very new ones, and cannot see as yet, thrash the little limbs about when I am near. Sometimes they go into convulsions. Maybe it is only because they have come only recently. Perhaps in the world they left, they had much knowledge, and they haven't seen the world long enough to forget everything. They are dangerous. I left quickly as soon as the first baby began to wail, but I promised Tommy I would play with him tomorrow. As I walked up the steps to my house, I began to feel afraid. It's hard for me to describe this fear. It's just what grown-ups call an emotion. It's like something solid. I can feel this fear. I always have. I kept hoping that this time they would leave me alone. It was no use. As I walked into the house, they all started talking at once.
Where's our food? You know we are hungry. We haven't eaten in weeks.
I was frightened. I always am because they have so much power. I try not to look at them as I answered. It's very dangerous to feed you often. The last time I nearly got caught. They began again, but not talking this time. It's much more horrible. I will call it laughing, even though it didn't sound at all like any of you have the different kinds of laughter you have ever heard. They do not know what laughter means. In fact, they have no idea of most of your emotions. They once knew, of course, but that was a long time ago. Now they just regard others as being useful, like myself.
Behold, the little one is frightened. She is always frightened. I am hungry.
One of them uncoiled from the high chandelier and dropped in the floor. The floor was uncarpeted, but the great body made no sound. I have seen this happen thousands of times, but I never get used to it. I closed my eyes and had to open them at once. They can make me do anything. The scaly three-cornered head was swaying close to mine. Some of the eyes on the ends of the wobbly tentacles were closed, but another of them remained open, blinking at me. Enough, I mean, to keep me from moving.
What are you afraid of, little one?
Of people finding out about me.
And you almost expressed fear that people would find out about us?
From behind a picture, hanging crookedly on the wall, a lot of thick grayish liquid dripped down to the floor. It shivered a little bit, and then changed into a hairy, ropey, horrible thing. It scuttled soundlessly across the floor and joined us. I tried not to look at it. I kept silent while they talked.
Is the little one becoming dangerous?
No, she cannot. You know that.
We milled her so long ago that sometimes I forget. I milled her well for a purpose. But we have blocked ourselves by our own cleverness. Little one is a weak vessel at times.
That's because we made her so. If she is to mingle with humans, then she must appear to them as such. She must share their weaknesses. I tried not to listen. They had talked this way many, many times. My eyes kept sliding to a pile of dirt in the corner. I should be used to it by now, but my heart jumped with fright as a huge red eye, dragging some disgusting threads of flesh, suddenly rolled out of the dirt. It joined the others. I could get used to the way they constantly change their shapes. It's just that they are so quiet. Even with a whole room full of them talking at once, their voices can be not heard by anyone but me. That is the truth. And now the three of them were speaking in their soundless voices. It's too bad that we must depend upon the little one for food.
But we must, as part of the agreement with him.
Yes, I know. Sometimes I think he got the best of the bargain. Oh, how can you tell? After all, the agreement is about a few thousand years old. You are right. And you must remember, in justice to him, that our method of eating gives us wonderful enjoyment. He tacked that on to the agreement. Oh, the vivid ecstasy of tasting food while somebody else eats is a never-ending source of new pleasures. And do not forget that the little one who eats for us not only transfers the delightful sensations to us, but enhances our gratification with her sensations. Perhaps we did get the best of the bargain.
Oh, this dog has made me hungrier than ever.
I wanted so badly to run away. Wanted more than anything because I knew what was coming.
Listen well, little one.
I listen and obey.
Good. You'll feed us tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
Yes, there will be no failure on your part.
What?
Yes?
Nothing. I was just thinking I met someone today.
Excellent, little one. That will make your task so much easier.
I tried to go, but I couldn't. It meant they were not through talking to me. I always feel funny when I hear their voices. It's because their voices do not make any sound.
Do not forget when you enjoy this, little one.
I will not forget.
That is well, you once made a mistake.
But that was long ago, so very long ago.
We have not forgotten. Remember that.
This time they let me go. As I turned, my eye caught a pretty shaft of moonlight coming through the window. They knew immediately that I enjoyed what I saw, so I was not surprised when the moon ray was cut off. They simply blotted it out. I suppose the reason is to save my emotions for the feast. All my emotions are wasted on them. For at least at those times they relish and savor my thoughts and feelings as much as the food I eat. You would find it very unpleasant to watch the times that I eat. I think you would go quite crazy. Next day I walked to the same spot in the park. Tommy was very happy to see me, and I was happy to see him. Hello, Tommy.
Hello, gosh, okay.
Tommy was so excited that he kept hopping from one foot to the other. He couldn't just keep his little body still. He tried to speak again, but spilled his words out so fast that it was impossible to understand him, so I spoke to him. I had to, anyway. There was little time until tonight, and I had so much to do. What are you so excited about, Tommy? He couldn't keep himself still. He couldn't help it. He kept wiggling and wiggling. He hopped up and down. Then finally he blurted,
I'm 7 years old.
No, really?
Yes, it's my birthday today. I'm but 7 years old.
I had to think very hard. This would make things much more difficult, but I knew I dare not fail. No, they wouldn't like it. Even thinking of it made me feel weak.
Let's play catch, Tommy. I want to learn how to throw like you do. Sure, I'll show you. It's easy.
Thank you, Tommy.
Aw, shucks, you're my friend, aren't you?
Yes, Tommy.
Then why shouldn't I help you?
I kept throwing the ball in such a way that we drifted apart from the other children and grown-ups. It was important. Dear little Tommy was very patient. He kept showing me what I was doing wrong over and over. When we were far enough away from the others, I whispered to him, "Do you know what's fun to do on birthdays?"
No, what?
Surprising people.
What do you mean?
I mean playing tricks. Suppose we take a little walk and then come back to them for another direction.
Oh boy, they wouldn't know where we came from.
That's right, wouldn't it be fun? His face fell.
My mommy wouldn't like it. She always tells me to go far away from the house. Or my nurse.
And Tommy, you're not a little boy anymore. You're 7 years old. Besides, we won't go very far.
Promise?
Of course. And then I got my own surprise for you.
Present?
I did not answer him because it was not necessary. His mind was completely occupied with thinking about what I was going to give him. And now time was getting short. I knew that in a few minutes Tommy would be missed, and they would begin looking for him. By this time we were on the lane that leads out of the park and onto the avenue. A light breeze carried along a frightening message. Someone was already calling for Tommy. As we left the park, Tommy started to hang back.
Going too far.
No, Tommy, we're only going to go get your present. My house is very near.
And then we'll go right back?
Right back.
Good. I won't want my nurse to worry about me.
His face was all lit up with eagerness as he trotted along next to me.
Why are you walking so fast?
So we can get back quickly. At the house, Tommy stopped. He bent his neck to one side, then to the other. He was peering so hard that his eyes squinted up.
What's the matter, Tommy? I don't like this house. It's funny.
But I live here. It's a pretty house.
I don't care. It's funny.
In another minute, Tommy would go chasing pell-mell down the street, back to the park. I quickly looked up and down the quiet side street. It was absolutely deserted. It came so fast that Tommy was only capable of an astonished squawk. I twisted one of his arms behind him and shot him up the steps and into the room. And then he saw them. His mouth opened. Shocked surprise left his eyes to be replaced by blank, unreasoning terror. A pulse in his temple began beating like a tiny hammer. Saliva started running out of one corner of his mouth. And then they were on him. The room was filled with their shoutings and gigglings, but I knew that nobody outside can hear them. Only I can hear them. Tommy was going fast. He was now in a corner, one hand held up before his eyes. His body was jerking faster and faster, and a thin, steady whimpering fell from his wide-open mouth. Suddenly he fell. It was all over. I knew what I had to do. I hauled him to the center of the room. Then they gathered around me in a circle. The room was filled with their noisy, hungry yelling, and yet the room was absolutely soundless. They were now ready to enjoy Tommy through me. It was for me to begin the feast.